Welcome back into the studio, Louis. You've been behind the lenses for the last couple of podcasts.
It's been a while, eh?
Yeah. Well, it's been a while since I've had you with me in the studio, in front of me, being able to talk.
So what's it like having me back in front of you?
Well, I don't know. We'll see after the podcast. We'll see how interesting and entertaining you are.
That's true. There's been quite a few requests, like saying, "Where the hell are YouTube? When are you two both going to be?"
Well, listen,
in front of the camera.
It's great that somebody is even watching. So the fact
true.
that there are a few requests makes every moment that we spend in here worthwhile.
So welcome back to the Bolton Ink Effect podcast, our December edition. There's so much to catch up on, and there's so much that has happened since last we actually spoke together on camera. I mean,
there is quite a lot that's happened. I went overseas with Miss 14 to see my mum, which was
epic.
Which was definitely epic. Yeah, so we were overseas for about 7 or 8 weeks. And what I did before I left was I joined something called the Trusted House Sitters. It's a website, it's an app you could put on your phone, and it's really great. And so you pay for the year. It's a subscription, not even that much, and you can look per country, per region for the dates. And then it gives you images of all of the people who want you to house sit or pet sit over that period of time. So while we were positioned in Devon with my mom near Plymouth, we were able to go and do pet sits around Cornwall and Devon, which is just so beautiful.
So there's no payment involved. Basically, you're looking for a place to house sit. They need somebody to look after their house or their pets, whatever the case. There's no payment involved. You literally just have to be vetoed.
Correct. They pay the app, and I pay to have the app. They don't pay me, and I don't pay them. When I talk about them, I mean the people who need the house sit. So
this is worldwide.
Yeah, pretty much. It's worldwide. Yeah.
So tell us more about. There's so much I want to ask you, but I mean, on the first hand, let me ask you the first question. I'll get back to the house sitting piece. What was it like being away, visiting your mum for so long? And how do you feel now, having been back for a month or two, looking back at that experience? Because you hadn't seen your mum in quite a while.
So my mum would always come out to us because, we had permanent jobs and it wasn't easy enough to take a lot of leave. But 2 years ago, my mum had sort of indicated that she didn't feel up to the big travel here, and she's had a bit of a heart issue. And so 2 years ago, I went out to her, and then we felt that it was time for me to go back out. Now my mum's health, it looked like it was, it did for a while get worse. And I just wanted to be there to manage things and to see how I could help and where I could help. And so and so our daughter went with us. And there were times when I think that she was, that she had to really manage her own state, and she did so really well. She wasn't in her environment. She was missing school. She missed her friends, and they're a huge part of her life. And so I really felt for her.
Sure.
I just slot in with my mom really easily. So that was fine. And it was very much about, caring for her and the environment that she's in. So we did some spring cleaning, some house cleaning, and we did some gardening, and that was really fun, and we went to the mall a couple of times. I did some shopping, and we did day trips. And when my mom didn't feel well, she would just stay at home, and Kenzie and I would go off for a day and explore and then come back.
So this led into the house sitting piece, because it was such a long period of time you were away, it led to you actually exploring the countryside and having a bit of a break, so to speak, from
having a holiday within a holiday.
Yes.
And then going to these small villages that you just pass on the highway, really. And so you become part of village life for 4 or 5 days.
Wow, what an experience. So you actually go off the beaten track, so to speak.
Totally.
You don't go to where normal, the tourist traps are, etc., etc. So you saw some amazing places, and you really understood. I suppose the one thing that, with the pictures that you showed me, was just how old England actually is and how young New Zealand is. Like, you can't get your head around it.
Correct. The history in England, and when I'm there, I always
think.
Please
share the story with the little cafe that you went to for the clotted cream and the.
Oh, so and the yes. So we went. We were deep in the heart of Cornwall, and it's quite interesting because I've never been that far up that side of the coast, and so it's called the Heritage Coast. And the landscape's very different. So where my mum is, there's the moors and there's lots of wide open spaces and there's the cliffs and the seas and all of that. But where we went further into Cornwall, it's definitely very hilly, but because it's the other side of the coast, the landscape is very different.
Okay.
So the trees are different and there's moss and there's and sometimes it's a little bit more rugged. So visually it was very different, and so that was very appealing. And so we went to I can't remember what it was, but it was a very old converted, it might have even been the station house or something. And somebody had recommended it as, once again, a chance encounter, bumping into somebody else with a dog. And she was coming out of a
Because you were house
restaurant.
sitting, looking after.
Yes, we were
folks with
house
dogs.
sitting, looking after.
So out for the dog walk, as you do,
correct.
meeting someone and saying, where could we go for a cup of tea?
Correct.
Gotcha.
And she just said, go to the such and such a place. And so got out we're on Google Maps, and Kenzie's brilliant when it comes to maps. She's like, left, right, straight for a little while, Mom, then left and then right again. And so Granny was reclined in the back seat, and Kenzie was guiding me. And we had the pup with us, a beautiful golden retriever called Arthur, 6 months old. Anyway, and we went to this lovely place for an afternoon English cream tea, and it's right next to a church.
Right.
And so we went into this church, ancient, Louis, really old. So the bench ends were carved in wood. So you have the bench and then the end of the bench that gets slotted into it, and those were from 1527.
I see.
So it's almost hard to comprehend. And the artwork on these things was so beautiful and intricate.
1500s. I can't
No.
kind of comprehend. I'm worried about what we're going to have for supper tonight. And
Our lives are so short. And I kept trying to say to Kenzie and pull her into
I was going to say, what was the conversation like that you had with Miss 14?
Well, so I love to read, so I read a lot. And I love historic books as well. So getting back into the English way back then, like the way they dressed
Sure.
and the streets and totally different. And so I have a very clear picture in my mind of what it must have been like. And then we went to another village called Clavelli, which is so ancient, so old. This cobbled hill goes down and these tiny little houses along it. And some of the places are so old, they still have the well
In the house?
in the house for water.
Because they were built over the stream or whatever it was.
Yes, however it is. And there's no car, so there's a donkey that still has to take your goods up and down. And so you can imagine hundreds and hundreds of years ago, what those people coming out of the house and the washing and the children running around. And
also a sense of community.
Community and time had a different meaning then, and family had a different meaning, and the fishermen were out on the sea bringing in the fare at the end of the day.
Do you think Miss 14 had any kind of reaction or real impact into what you were seeing? Do you think she took anything away from it?
I think she definitely appreciated visually what it looks like, because she looks at it through a different lens. Not having travelled yet and not having read as much, I don't think she's able to appreciate the very depth of time and history. And also she's part of a generation that is, everything is in 10 and 15 second snips. So there's a completely different appreciation of time and perception of time.
So this brings me to another point where you and I discussed before you went about the fact that, well, we didn't really mind, but we took her out of school for the 8 weeks and whatever the case is, and we had to, not apply, but just state why we were taking out, because you can't really do that. But be that as it may, looking back, and even when we made the decision, it was the best decision that I think you and I made, because the level of exposure and experience and education that Miss 14 got traveling far outweighs what she might have got at school. Now, there's no diss on the school, there's no diss on the system, but just in terms of her development and her broadening her horizons, I think is far more valuable than spending all that time at school. Does that make sense?
100%. And, I've travelled with Kenz before, and she's an incredibly good travel partner. And now that she's, 2 years on,
of that age,
she's an even better travel partner. So So she has her head screwed on. She's really good with navigating, And much like our partnership, when I'm down, you're there to pick me up.
Right.
It was the same with her. So when she was very tired, I knew that I needed to be a bit more buoyant, and it was the same the other way around.
But it goes deeper than that, because I think there's also an appreciation for, it's the correct word, emotional intelligence and worldliness.
Yes, so being part of a different culture, like when we went to Paris,
What an experience.
Yeah, so you've got to catch a bus to the airport, and then from the airport you've got to catch a flight to Charles de Gaulle. You get there and suddenly you're aware of nobody speaking English.
Exactly.
So
different culture, different language.
Totally. So you've got to try to figure stuff out, and it's written on the posts and on the pillars, and you go this way and then you go that way, and the machine is there and you've got to figure out how to make it speak English, and then you still don't get it right. And so we got there at midnight and we were both pretty tired, and she just got on with it, and Mom, let's ask for directions now. And I really was determined that we were going to catch the metro and then catch the bus, so that we were never going to rely on an Uber. And finally, at about 1:30, she's like, Mom, there's an Uber.
Call it.
Or a taxi. And she put out her hand and she said, take us to a hotel, please. And I got into the back seat with such a sigh. I was like, yeah, somebody needed to make the call. Thank God she did.
Good on her.
But it was also an appreciation of money that I really got an insight for.
Okay. Explain a little bit more, because I suppose ordering croissants or coffee, etc., and even going to museums.
So we decided that was going to be something that was a given. So we were going to pay for experiences. But It's really easy. At sort of lunchtime, Paris goes to eat. That's what they do. So between 12 and 2, whatever your lunchtime is, you go and you can see them all sit out on the cafes. And so it's really easy to do that. But then every meal is 35 euros each. So that's 70 euros. And so you think, if you're doing that for 5 days in a row, that's a fair chunk of cash.
Correct.
Would we rather spend that on an experience?
Yeah.
Yes, we would. So we would go and get a baguette. We'd go into the little, and Kenzie was really good with that. We'll do this, and this place is cheaper than that. And she's on. So she found loads of places on TikTok, actually.
Oh, really?
Like a burger place. We went there and we had burgers for €3.50 each. I mean, the queue was literally
out the door,
around the corner, and it's this amazing Asian family that are just pushing out these burgers, but they were exceptional.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's great. I have to ask you, you went to the Louvre.
We did indeed.
Now, please tell me what your reaction was to seeing the Mona Lisa. Tell me about that experience, please.
Well, the Louvre is overwhelming. You need more than a day there. That's a definite. Seeing the Mona Lisa was a little breathtaking, a little bit awesome. But you're standing, so she's in a room, and she's actually quite small.
So that's what the first thing, when I asked Miss 14 about it, she says, Dad, it's so small.
So small.
It's literally the size of an A4.
A little bit bigger.
I mean,
yes, and she's in a beautiful frame, but you're standing sort of
5 deep.
Well, 15. And then they try to push you closer to the barrier, but the barrier is 2.5 meters from her.
So you can't really appreciate it up close.
No, you definitely can't. Okay. And then as you get to the front, there's 4 or 5 security there who let you have your moment, and you're looking at her and you're trying to absorb her and that smile. And as you're walking, she really follows you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so
the attention to detail in such a small space was just absolutely incredible.
But the guards were amazing. They saw a little girl struggling, and he said to the mom, and she was way back, and the mom was trying to pick her up, and he indicated to the mom, so she got passed through, and he literally held her while she looked straight into the Mona Lisa.
Okay.
Yeah. So she was one of the highlights.
Look,
Venus de Milo was a big one for me. That's who I wanted. Venus de Milo.
Oh,
wow. That's really what I wanted to see. Spectacular. I mean, this beautiful big marble statue, just
in real life, in front of you, not a picture.
No, and they're not sure how, what parts of her, how she was reconstructed, and there's a bit of history as to how she was found. That was breathtaking for me.
Cultural experiences, I think, are banked. I think they're banked.
Oh, absolutely.
They build on your resilience, and they build on your, like I said, your ability just to see the world differently.
And to appreciate the world differently.
And also where we live.
Because, you're standing, for example, when you're standing at the Eiffel Tower, the very first time you see it, you're a bit like, shucks, there it is. That's the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
And everybody is there. And everybody is having that instant reaction.
That's multicultural.
Yes, and people from all over the world, different colours and different dress senses, and you can really so once you've got your full view of this incredible thing,
which was made for a trade show, just built for a show and never taken down.
Exactly, it was really like an ego build.
Yeah.
Okay. But once so you go and you sit on a park bench and you can observe people and the comings and the goings and the different accents, and the two of us would sit on the bench for ages and just literally people watch, which was really nice.
Just bringing this back, because there's so much to talk about. Just bringing this back, so then going back to England and spending some time with your mom and doing what you had to do. Then coming back to New Zealand and realizing that you'd been away for that space of time. For me personally, it was wonderful for the first 2 weeks, and then I just missed the crap out of both of you because it was just very, very, different.
Yeah.
And you get into your own routines and own rhythms. And when you came back, again, it took us about a week or two to find our rhythms again and get back in place. We started back beautifully. How do you feel about being back now with some time that's passed, in retrospect to looking at your mom and with travel with little one?
Well, how do I feel about being back? New Zealand's beautiful. Kenzie and I literally wanted to kiss the ground when we came home.
Yeah, I understand that.
New Zealand, you literally can open your arms wide and fill your lungs with this beautiful, precious air that we have. Yeah. It's just green and beautiful. It's mystifyingly beautiful.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, actually.
Yeah.
It's something that you never never actually get used to.
No.
And then when you go away and come back, you appreciate it even again.
There's the
contrast. In a different manner,
yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah. And you remember that when you went to South Africa.
Very much so.
Because there were dirty parts and the pavements.
Yeah,
the pavements are unkept and there's litter everywhere.
It's the dirt
and it's the dirt and the poverty. And so in England, it's the greyness.
Yeah.
Those buildings are very grey.
Yeah. It's interesting.
And the streets are very narrow. Yeah. Whereas here it's just expansive and big and green.
Bridge, on a business front, you and I are running our own business, or trying to run our own business successfully as possible.
No, we are running our own business. We're not trying. So answer me this. If you try and brush your teeth, what happens?
You brush your teeth.
Correct. When you run a business, what do?
You run a business.
Correct.
Yeah, look, okay, so back to my question was, how did you feel, or have you learned anything about yourself in terms of the business aspect of being away for 7 or 8 weeks? Did it change anything, or did it dampen your experience overseas?
No. It is what it is. I thought that I would stay on that LinkedIn hamster wheel and I would do the posting and make sure that I was still noticeable and still present and still top of mind and making a contribution.
Right.
And after 2 or 3 days there, I was like, oh, stuff it, man. Nobody's going to miss me. Nobody really cares that I have an opinion about marketing or videography or filming or anything. Who actually gives a shit about opinions?
Yeah. That's one thing that I think I've picked up for both of us is, like, yes, top of mind is cool. But one thing that I know is working, and I'll get to it, there's a few points that I have made, is that the networking aspect and the in real life contacts that we've made have yielded the best results. I don't know if you've experienced the same.
100%. Yeah. Well, listen, financially, you've had a much more successful year than I have. But that's only financially. From a growth and stepping into myself and a happiness perspective, I've had a great year.
You've had a fantastic year. And I've noticed that about you.
All this growth and all this learning and figuring out myself and having got to this point where I think, actually, I'm not comfortable asking for money for what I do. And that's my block, and that's something I have to overcome. I
remember chatting to you at the beginning of this journey, at the beginning of the year, and just saying, you need time. You need at least 6 to 9 months just to unwind.
And unschool. I think it's unschool.
I think that's the word we used, was unschool. Yeah. And I'm glad you've had that experience, myself as well, to figure out who you actually are. And it's one thing that was highlighted while you were away for me was, who am I when nobody's watching? When your eyes are not on me, when Miss 14's eyes are not on me, when it's just me, like, who am I? And it was eye-opening.
Mm-hmm.
sometimes a little bit confronting, because I realize how much I give to you and give to Miss 14. And then when you sit and there's nothing else to do, like there's no fetching and carrying or business to run, is what those quiet times look like, and what happens in the background, that monkey mind, what chatter comes up and trying to quieten that chatter. And the one thing that led me to kind of process that was pickleball. I played a lot of pickleball during the time, but also I got on my bike and I rode my bike, and I've had a different perspective and different appreciation for getting out and clearing my mind, but being physical as well, getting fitter, getting stronger,
and being very present. Because when
brings you into the present moment.
Because when you're cycling, there's no appearances that need to be kept up. The gravel doesn't lie. The road is the road. A bend is a bend. You are who you are. The bike can do what it can do. It's just you and it. And there's all of that mindfulness that happens, and it takes as long as it takes. And your body's either happy or it's not.
But therein lies it's not the rub, it's the opposite to the rub. Therein lies the lesson. It's like when we're running our business, all those emails, the newsletters, the LinkedIn posts, the constant work, it's exactly the same as me putting in the miles and putting in the kilometers. Sometimes I'll go out for a 50K ride and it sucks because there's headwind and there's wind and there's rain and there's mud, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And then a couple of weeks later, I'll go for a ride again, and that same hill in that shit condition, I do, and I get to the top, I'm like, that didn't even feel like anything, because I put in the work. I put in the miles, I put in the practice, and then all of a sudden it gets easier and easier.
But also,
and I find that's what's happening in our business.
Yeah.
It's just taken a hell of a lot longer than we both thought it would, but based on other external factors as well.
So two things there. Number one, when you're in the flow, you're in the flow. And when it goes well, it really goes well. And there's nothing you can do about a headwind. You just have to accept it.
And get through it.
And you just have to get through it. And the other thing is the economy that we've experienced, the economic range that we've experienced this year has been...
contracted.
Yes, it has been very contracted.
Slower.
Slower than we'd anticipated at the beginning. Yeah. But had we known, we would have operated very differently. So I'm glad we didn't know.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with you. I mean, what's the ignorance is bliss in that sense, and we just forged on. I mean, we're still here. We're still paying rent. We're still putting food on the table. Yes, we don't have a lot more, but I'm like, I look around, I'm like, how did we do that?
No, I think, we've done amazingly well.
I suppose it does put into perspective, I mean, you and I in our 50s, yes, retirement is a concern for you and I, and what that looks like. We have spoken about it, but there is a plan.
And that's what I recommend for anybody who is heading into their 50s, is to have a plan. Because that worry that sits at the back of your mind will
destroy you.
And will
it's
just
like poison, isn't it?
Yeah, it just keeps eating away at you. If you've got a plan and you know where you are and you know where you want to get to, you can put those steps in place.
And you can adjust along the way.
You can adjust along the way. Because there's so many things that come into that we have to take into account. From a retirement perspective, historically, you could always rely on a government pension or a superannuation, as they call it in New Zealand. So in South Africa, not so much a state pension.
That's another story. It's all been taken anyway.
Yes, that is another story. But because we have a population that, so you and I were having this conversation the other day, like some 10 years or so ago, you had 7.5 people who paid for every retiree. Now we're down to, I mean, I don't know the statistics exactly.
Don't quote me on it, but it's like 3 or whatever.
Yeah, 2.5 or 2. Yeah. And so what's that going to look like? So a lot of our youth have left. A lot of us are having a lot of kids are having smaller families. Yeah. So you've got this real grind, you've got this crunch when we come to retiring. I don't know if this country can afford to support us. So that's not something you and I have ever even considered. It's not something we've relied on. But I think because we're foreigners, we've just said to each other, we'll have to look after ourselves, whatever that plan is.
That's, and work within that.
And work within that. But if you're relying on a pension fund,
No, it's not going to look after you.
I think, you need to open your eyes.
There's another layer to this, and we're not going to open that can of worms here, but the whole evolution of AI into our lives and the whole world structure is changing at such a pace that no one actually can confidently foretell what's going to happen. You know, there's talk of UBI, there's talk of
just so that we know what UBI is.
Universal basic income. And that's not...
Yeah. And we know that New Zealand government are looking at it, but I don't think they're looking at it as realistically
where's that money going to come from?
Well, exactly.
You know,
who is feeding those coffers?
Yeah, that money's got to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
The whole concept of money is going to be, in my opinion, change somewhat.
Yeah, I'd be interested to understand, because I get the concept of that.
I get the concept, but the nitty gritty of it, I think, will reveal itself in.
Because we can't help but think of the fact that we have to work until we're 65 or 67. That's the old-fashioned way. You can't help but think that that's what you have to do, and then you get to a point where you say, "Okay, then I'm not working."
It's a program.
Very, very much so.
For you and me.
But if you think of the alternatives, money will hold a different value because cryptocurrency will it appears to be becoming the backbone of financial structures.
Yeah, and we're not experts in any stretch of the imagination here.
And so on one of the cryptocurrency platforms, the South African one, there are like 2,500 outlets that you can pay
with Bitcoin
with your app. And we don't have, but it's as simple as, there was some food outlets and there are clothing outlets. So you've got your Bitcoin on your phone and you just tap it and it just takes it off. So that's a very different thing. So you've got your money accumulating, and if you bought Bitcoin ages ago, you've still got some, and it's worth
whatever it is,
20 or 30 or 50, depending on when you bought, 60 or 70% more.
Yeah, it reminds me like the where we're going. Remember the movie WALL-E?
Yes.
You know, where there are no jobs because robots and everything don't do everything for you, and most of the people are just on conveyor belts, drinking and in front of the screens and stuff like that. But that dystopian, utopian kind of vibe. It's fascinating how it's all playing out and what it's going to look like. And I mean, we've had a chat to Miss 14 about it, and I mean, it's not something that she can preconceive or talk about with any confidence because she's very much still in the moment.
But she is thinking about it. So she had a conversation with ChatGPT and just said, "This is what I
didn't know this."
Oh, don't you know this? So what she did was she I think it was last Friday. So she says to me on Saturday morning, "What does a 14-year-old do on a Friday night when they can't sleep?" They have a conversation with ChatGPT about their future. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Where's this going? So she was saying, these are the things that I'm interested in.
Right.
This is what I love to do with my time. I want to earn a lot of money and I want to have a lot of fun in my life. Let's put a realistic plan forward. And so ChatGPT asked her lots of questions and interrogated her thinking, and then got her to refine things, and then interrogated her thinking again, and then put a 5-year plan forward for her. Because she wants to be out, she wants to be in nature, she's really creative, she's got a good eye, she wants to climb trees, she wants to be in the sky, she wants to be in the, she wants to be out in the world, in the wild.
Yeah, and the top thing that came out to her was a nature photographer.
It was a wildlife photographer and a nature photographer, and
it's great. It gets you
marine
thinking,
biologist. And so now suddenly that Kenzie has that bit of plan in place,
or scope for.
She suddenly realizes that maths and science are important to her,
Amazing.
Whereas 2 weeks before she's like, "Oh,
gotta go do it.
Stupid science. It's just all about a Bunsen burner and a beaker." Like, okay, like I don't know what to. Yeah, I don't know what to add to that. But so she's now seeing things through a completely different lens.
It's great, eh? Yeah, I mean, I had so many points to, but I love these conversations because we never know where we're going to go, but we always land up talking about business and ourselves in any way. Have you got any questions for me? Because I mean, I could carry on all day.
I wanted to ask you.
Husband?
Like what's caught? Yes, I wanted to ask you, husband. What is something that has caught your eye? What is something that you're pondering of late?
Oh, there's quite a bit, but I think the most recent thing was I did a big race this past weekend, the Gravel Grind, which is part of the the Lake Taupo Cycle Challenge. So there's many rides here in the local region in New Zealand. And the gravel grind is an 85-kilometer gravel ride. And I've been training for that for the last 10 weeks. And I think the biggest thing for me is caught my eye is that the attention to, if you put in the work, the results will yield themselves. I just wanted to finish the ride and enjoy it. I had a time in mind. I didn't quite get my time, but at the same time, I really enjoyed the process of being able to finish the ride because I'd done the work. And it's the same in our business. I can really enjoy reaping the rewards based on my years of experience as a videographer and editor. And I've had a few, which has led to a few collab jobs where I have been a production assistant, which is sort of way below my pay grade, but that's not a discriminatory thing. It's just I've been on set with other like-minded people, and it's been great. And it's given me the confidence, or it's given me the realization of how what's the word I'm looking for? The lack of confidence I've had in myself. I'm not putting that sentence right. That I've been living too small. I've been living in a very small tomato box. You know, there's this saying, or this little story that you and I have got about you need to increase the size. What's it? You need to increase the size of your tomato box. Basically, how it came about was when we used to do documentaries and films in the townships in South Africa. You'd have all these street sellers, and they'd be selling fruit, vegetables. There'd be a butcher right there with your chicken head and your lamb, your sheep head and that. But the tomato box person knew that he had to sell. He had like little plastic plates with tomatoes stacked on each other like a little pyramid, and he'd sell that for like R5. He knew that if he sold 5 of those plates, that he could get enough food and pay for his family. But that's as big as his world was the size of that tomato box. And the minute he sold out of that and he got more, he had to have more tomato boxes or get a bigger street store. And suddenly your world opens up.
But that was the conundrum with that, is that sometimes that is, you cannot see beyond that.
You cannot see
so
beyond
every
that,
morning
correct.
he would go and buy his 35 tomatoes.
Only.
And every day he would sell his 35 tomatoes, and he would go home with 35 times R5, or whatever the case is. So the minute you start to see the scope as bigger and you take slightly bigger steps, he could have gone to buy 35 apples and 35 onions.
Yeah,
he now has three brands to sell. He's got triple the risk, because he's had to outlay all of those costs, but he's got triple the reward. And then if he gets a bigger table, and then what about if he rents a shop? And then he gets bread, milk, tomatoes, vegetables, onions, potatoes, and all the other things. So he's then building a much bigger business. And then he's got a factory, and then he's got a manufacturing plant. But if he's ever only thinks that he can manage selling 25 tomatoes, whether he sells them by 9 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that's his goal. And that's really as big as his eye can see, as big as his world can see.
But it brings back another story that I heard the other day, and I'm paraphrasing here. And it goes along the lines of an American tourist goes to one of the South American states and wants to go fishing, and sees a guy in the back of a boat with a hat and a cigarette and with his fishing line, and he's got his catch for the day, but he's happy as Larry. And the tourist goes up to him and saying, what are you doing? He said, no, I'm fishing. And what are you going to do this afternoon? Oh, I'm going to go and spend some time with my wife and child and have a siesta and that. And the tourist says, well, what happens? Don't you want to, grow and get out of this situation? And the fisherman says, yeah, I've thought about it. And then the tourist, coming from the Western kind of thing, was talking exactly about that. He says, yeah, but if you, excuse me, if you go out earlier and come back later with a bigger yield, you've got more fish to sell. That money can then buy you another boat. And by definition, you can get more product and sell it. And then you can have a factory. And then basically what you can do is you can move towns and you can get a bigger house and you can go to
and then you can buy a
city,
car and you can
buy the car and everything like that. And then you can, you can list on the stock exchange and you can have a whole fleet and stuff like that. And he said, and then you can retire. And then you can come back to the boat and sit with a cigarette and whatever. And he stopped him right there and he says, well, I'm already doing that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so interesting because
That's worth thinking about.
It's worth thinking about. It's something that I heard. I'm like, yeah, you know, we constantly, this hustle culture and this chase and bigger, better, scale up and get more. And I understand there's a level that you want to live at. I'm not taking anything away, but I mean,
but are we talking about two different things?
We probably are. But
but if you break it down, so the one thing is, if you cannot see beyond your own limitations, which is the one thing, which is the tomato box theory. So you can't see beyond your own limitations.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one concept.
But then there's the concept of like how big do we want to build this business? You know what I mean? And I don't want to.
But if you only can see as far as your box,
that's as far as you're going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I find that frustrating for me. So you asked me earlier on, you know, what have been some of my observations over a whole year of not working, and one of the big things is I think that potentially I'm limited in what I'm thinking.
Okay, I get what you're saying,
because I'm not sure how to charge for my services.
Yeah, and also you because of that you stretch yourself thinner in the market's eyes because you can do everything.
And I want to be something to all people.
Correct.
But that's just, you know, I hate the expression, but it's just throwing shit on the wall and hoping that it sticks.
Yeah, and nothing is just stuck yet, but you've got to keep showing. Yeah. So that also.
Multiple lessons in business, yeah.
I heard another thing that I heard the other day was that price determines position. Position doesn't determine price. And what I mean by that is you've thrown a lot on the walls and you get to the point where you charge below what you should be charging just to try and get something in, but you get no response from the market, which plays on your self-confidence, where you know that you can position yourself much, much higher, which dictates a price. But because that expectation hasn't been met yet, we keep going down, and we're both in the situation where we actually have to realize the tomato box thinking. We know what that outside of that is. That's the price based on where the position is. It's just something to think about.
There's a few things there though, because if the market's not willing to pay,
well, the market doesn't have money at the moment,
and that's that was my next point. So the market's not willing to pay because it can't. So either you get in there and you help your community, which is what we did with the podcast, community podcast, which were great, yeah. And there was no money exchange there. So that was us. Yeah. Some interesting food for thought.
So there's a lot of food for thought here. Yeah. So anything else you want to ask me? Because I've got a few more things for you to ask you, and then I'm going to wrap up.
I don't have anything else, actually.
Cool. So based on the last 12 months.
Unusual for me not to have anything else, but let's go. And
this is not a resolution thing or anything like that, but takeaways from this year and some things that you want to take into next year. I know we're going on a break at the moment, and New Zealand pretty much shuts down for the whole of December and January.
So your question to me is takeaways from 2025 and thoughts to take into 26.
Not wishes or resolutions.
No, I hear you. So things from 2025 are probably that it's been a wonderful year of personal growth. And there's a little bit of unschooling that's happened. Because if we think about, I started school when I was 5 years old, and I've had a permanent job practically until I'm 50. So, that's a lot of conditioning.
Lots of conditioning.
Yeah. So there's been some unlearning there, right, with regards guilt. If I don't feel like doing anything and I'm not feeling in the flow, then sometimes I would force myself.
Yep.
And if you're working for somebody, you have to do it because that's fair. That's an exchange. Exactly. Yep. You're on their books, and I get that. But so I've taken a lot of that learning into my own world. So I don't have to. If I don't feel the flow, I don't have to do it.
Yeah, which has been difficult for you.
Yeah, but I can achieve a lot more in 3 hours when I'm in the flow than I can on 8 hours in a day when I'm just feeling crap.
100%. I've seen that.
It's been amazing to be
a gift.
That's a gift. It's been amazing to be a very present mom with Kenzie. And that's been a very, very difficult weight that I've honestly felt in deep to my very core, in my very soul, that I wanted to be present for Kenz. Her early years are the most informative. And when we came here, we expected life to be slightly differently, and I'm not going to harp on that again because it's not worth it. But I went to work, Kenzie went to school, she then went to aftercare, so I didn't see her until I got home at 6 o'clock or whatever. And that was difficult for me. So being around her this year has been amazing.
And I'm going to say this to you as the father of the daughter, to the mother of the daughter, is that I can see the difference it's made for you to be present in her life, more so than you realize.
Well, what can you see?
The connection that you have with Kenzie is beyond belief. And the fact that I recognize the fact that Kenzie may not say it all the time, but I think she appreciates you even more now than when she was younger. I was around when we both were around, just in different situations.
Time scales and situations.
Your time is now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's even more effective now than it would have been earlier, because you were still around. But that's just feedback for yourself, because I'm amazed at the relationship that you have with her.
I'm amazed that Ken's will come home and not even know where her phone is.
Yeah, she wants to spend time with us and do things, which is, sometimes like, what?
And so Christmas for us is easy, because we must just go and buy games.
Yeah. Board games.
Board games. They are brilliant. Yeah. Rummy Cub and cards and...
Yeah, there's a few we need to get.
Yeah, anyway, fantastic games.
Anything else?
So anything to take into 2026? I'm having some really good chats with ChatGPT at the moment, just around mentoring for me, just about refining, just about not throwing shit at the wall.
Okay. So a positioning piece.
It's very much a positioning piece and a value piece. And there are some amazing, insightful questions. And I've started to do some shadow work, which I'm finding quite intriguing. I seem to have hit a bit of a wall with it. But that's just awareness.
Okay.
That, we're all this face that you see in the light, but there are things that go on behind us that motivate certain behaviors. And so let me turn the question to you. What are your thoughts for 25?
One of the biggest things for me to be taken from 2025 going into next year is the fact that I am more aware of where my strengths are now and what I want to be seen as. And that is definitely not a short form editor or videographer or cinematographer. I'm far more interested in the longer form, deeper, detailed documentary or story-based editing and filming. I mean, that can still be a 3-4 minute expose on a project or a person or whatever the case is. But the short form stuff I'm not interested in, and I don't want to be seen for that. So that's something I'm going to be focusing on more with you next year, and going, the podcast is something I want to lean into even more, and finding those clients that value the art of long form documentation. I'm really looking forward to that, because that's where I know your and my skill lie. And I don't have to compete with anybody else, for the tidbits. And it might take a little bit longer than anticipated, but this year has taught me to have that patience and resilience. And the collaboration work is something that I am also interested in, and finding 1 or 2 other team members, not to work in the business, but just to work alongside. Spitballing ideas and that collaborative experience is what I'm looking forward to, and getting you on board on more projects, to work alongside you more, so that we don't diversify in terms of you in the marketing and me in the video side. I really want you to come along board as that sort of producer, scriptwriter, storyteller, and me doing the production side of things, and working together in that is something that is really, really, it's going to happen.
Yeah, good. I like that as an intent for next year.
That's my intent. So
lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Love you lots. And hopefully we do another one before the end of the year. But until then,
we have got another one. It's just whether you've got the time to edit it. We have another community member coming on next week, a creative, and so we'll talk about the chaos of creativity.
Let's do that. And to anybody out there, or to everybody out there, especially if you're a local in the community, get hold of us. Let's tell your story. Get in. Bridge will interview you. I'll interview you. Spread the word. comment, like, share. You know what the hell to do. Every little bit helps. And thanks so much for listening, and be kind to yourself and those around you. Cheers.
Can I ask you a question?